Hi guys, my name is Stranz Fairchild, and I'm going to talk to you about the film Blades of Glory and how it misrepresented the story of how Jimmy McElroy and Chaz Michaels were able to win the gold in pairs figure skating. It all starts with Chaz Michaels and Jimmy McElroy tying for gold in the individual men's figure skating. They eventually got into some scuffle because they both thought they deserved the gold over the other. They were then rightfully banned from competing in male figure skating ever again. So some years pass, and my sister, Fairchild von Waldenberg, are getting ready to compete and qualify for the next Winter Games. But what did Chaz Michaels and Jimmy McElroy do? They find some loophole or change the rules. I don't know what they ended up doing. Regardless, they were able to squeeze their way into pairs figure skating, which is a men's and women's sport, not a men's sport. It's an absolute disgrace to the respectful sport of pairs figure skating. Ultimately, they qualify. I don't know how. They must have bought the judges or something. Anyway, naturally, to save the sport of figure skating and guarantee my sister and I the gold medal, we have our younger sister, Katie von Waldenberg, spy on Jimmy and Chaz just so we know what they're up to. Unfortunately, they looked pretty good. So, we had to take it a step further. We had to convince Katie to make Jimmy fall in love with her so we can later break them up by having Katie sleep with Chaz. Now, I know. That doesn't really sound like the right thing to do, but we did it for the sake of the sport and for figure skating. So the Winter Games finally roll around, and unfortunately, Chaz Michaels and Jimmy McElroy looked pretty good. They looked like stiff competition. So we guilt-tripped Katie into having sex with Chad. Unfortunately, she couldn't do it because apparently she fell in love with Jimmy or something. Traitor. So we did the next best thing. We kidnapped Jimmy and Chaz to make sure that they couldn't show up. Again, we did it all for the sake of figure skating and for the sport. Unfortunately, they were able to escape and make it to their finals. So our last-ditch effort to secure our gold medal was I had my lovely sister, Fairchild von Waldenberg, throw pearls onto the ice in order for one of them to trip and break an ankle or shatter an ankle. It worked, but unfortunately they were still able to pull off the famous Iron Lotus, which was honestly pretty cool. Inevitably, we were caught, and we were thrown in prison, and unfortunately, Chaz and Jimmy McElroy were able to win the gold. Now, I know all of this might sound a little extreme, but we did it for the sake of the sport and to protect the image that is figure skating. You see, Chaz Michaels and Jimmy McElroy aren't just some friendly figure skaters. They pose a threat to the sport because pairs figure skating is supposed to be a men's and women's sport, not a men's sport. I don't think they're going to be able to keep the gold, especially after me and Fairchild are out of prison. A lot of people think that this movie is a comedy. I don't. I think it's a horror story. I think it's a horror story about the destruction of a once great sport. If I were to end the movie a different way, I would have ended it with a to be continued, because me and Fairchild are going to be back, and we're taking that gold.